drama unfolded today over the Mumbai drugs bust case, the luxury cruise drugs bust case where the NCB, the Narcotics Control Bureau, arrested Sharukh Khan's son a few days ago. Today, the Maharashtra Minister and NCB leader Nawab Malik raised questions over this entire operation and made some very sensational allegations. He called it an orchestrated case to frame the accused. In fact, he began by talking about how NCB was brought in from Sushant Singh Rajput's case to target the Bollywood and go after Bollywood, and even now that is what is being done. He, in a sense, presented arguments to build the case that there is planted evidence. There are people involved who are not from the NCB but involved in this raid. That no seizures were actually made on the cruise. A lot of it was actually photographed at the NCB office itself, and that this entire case is to frame the arrested, the accused. Why? Well, he says there is a conspiracy and a plot, a collusion between the NCB, Narcotics Control Bureau, and the BJP, the Bharatiya Janata Party, to target Sharukh Khan, who's been on NCB's radar now for some time, as the messages that were being circulated indicated. So he says whole case orchestrated to frame people. Drug seizure was never done on the ship. The photos of the seizures actually came from Delhi NCB. And the news circulated at that time was that next on the radar is Sharukh Khan. The news has been planted to defame the Maharashtra government and Bollywood. This is the big political twist that has been given to an NCB drug bust to portray the scenario that the Maharashtra government and Bollywood is on one side and the narcotics control with the BJP is on the other side. The Narcotics Bureau obviously has denied these allegations, calling them baseless and with malice. They say that all procedures were followed during the drug seizure and arrest, that they had been tipped off, and on the basis of that, they followed the procedure to carry out this search and arrest people. It's become a war of words. So when Nawab Malik says pictures and videos that have been released by the NCB are not from the cruise of the drugs that were found, Narcotics Control Bureau says these allegations are baseless. When Nawab Malik says, and this is the other big allegation which has now emerged to be true, that a BJP worker and a private detective was seen at the spot. And those are the visuals you see. Those are the visuals where you see one BJP worker taking the hand of one of the accused, Arbaz merchant, and taking him inside the NCB building. On the other side, you see the man, Mr. Gosavi, allegedly a private detective who's holding Aryan Khan's hand and taking him inside. These are the visuals after the NCB surge and the party was busted. When they were taken into detention, there are two civilians, non-NCB officials, who seem to be in charge of the key accused in this case. This, to me, is something that the NCB must explain. Politics aside, it doesn't matter if the NCP is really cooking up stories for political reasons. Doesn't matter what the BJP has to say. But what matters is NCB explaining to us what just happened here. How are two civilians really holding the accused who had been detained and dragging them along? The BJP worker here is a witness in the case. He claims he's the one who got information from some friend of his and then told the NCB So the bureau actually called him saying, we are going to now go to the cruise and carry out this raid. You should come with us. And so he went along and became a part as if he was an NCB official himself. The other man, a private detective, also, he was so involved with this operation that he actually managed to click a picture with Aryan Khan in custody, nicely sitting next to him, chilling, taking selfies. And I'm sure you've seen that selfie. When this selfie emerged, the NCB actually came out and clarified that this is not their man. He is not an NCB official or a local law and order official, because he is not. He is a private investigator, allegedly. But he is there taking pictures. Why has this been allowed? The only response from the Narcotics Bureau is that they follow the law, and these people, including a few others, are witnesses in this case. What does that mean? And what happens to the case then? Let's ask the panelists who are joining us right now. Rajiv Pandey of the BJP, Clyde Craster of the NCP, Mr. B.V. Kumar, former DG of NCB, joins me this evening. Mr. Balakrishnan, senior journalist, also with me this evening. Let me see if I can go across to Mr. B.V. Kumar first. To understand, Mr. Kumar, the Bureau, Narcotics Control Bureau says these two gentlemen, along with several others, are witnesses in the case, are witnesses here. Now, does that mean that they need to be witnesses of the entire process of raid, search, detention, or they are witnesses to the case where they had information and will be giving testimonies to how these people were consuming drugs, where they got it from, and so on and so forth? What is the role of a witness in such an operation?
Thank you for inviting me for this panel discussion. It's very important in all seizures, either that of under the Customs Act by the DRI or the customs officers, or by the Narcotics Control Bureau or their officers. Minimum of 2 witnesses are required during a search operation, during the course of seizure of either the contraband, either drugs or any other contraband, and they have to be present. If the Panchanama cannot be conducted at the point of search, here in this case, the cruise, then they are brought to the office and the running Panchanama is conducted in the office and the drugs recovery is shown there. That's the normal procedure that's followed, irrespective of the hue, the political hue of the person or his call of profession, whatever it is. So it's very important to have at least minimum of 2 witnesses during the course of a search operation, then the course of the recovery of the contraband or the drugs. And if it is not possible to conduct a search of a seizure at the point of place where the persons or the drugs have been seized, they're escorted, a running Panchanama is conducted, they're escorted to the office or a safe place where the Panchanama is conducted, and the signature of the witness are taken to show that whatever procedure has been followed by the investigating agency, including search, seizure, and recovery, are recorded in the Panchanama. See, that's the most important thing. We are not concerned at that point of time when the search operation is going on about the profession or the party to which a particular witness belongs. Many of them could be ordinary civilians. Sometimes each individual may have a political affiliation. We are not concerned about it. Now, what's important in this case is the question whether drugs were recorded or not, number one. Number two, in the follow-up action, at Delhi also, not only in Bombay where they have arrested the peddlers, but in Delhi, they have raided the event managing firm called Manas Kray Experience Private Limited, and the 4 directors who were part of the event managing firm, they were arrested, produced before the Metropolitan Magistrate, and then they have been remanded to 11 days custody. In addition, they've also arrested 4 persons in Bombay who supplied the drugs. One, Mr. Abdul Qadir Sheikh, he appears to be a key witness. He has been the main supplier. And then Shresh Nair was another major supplier. Then one Manish Rajgaria, he was another supplier, and Abhin Sahu. It's a question of how much they supplied and what they supplied, the nature of the drug, etc. So this investigation is ongoing, and at this stage, to attribute motives to any particular witness who was present or who has been utilized by the NCB cannot be attributed to any motives.
Okay.
I am not on a political issue in this, but the procedure I'm...
Right. Thank you for clarifying on the procedure. Let me just ask one more follow-up before I open it up to other panelists as well. What is visible, though, Mr. B.V. Kumar, in the visuals is that these witnesses are actually the ones who are holding the hands of the accused, these youngsters who've been picked up at the cruise, and taking them inside. Now, I can understand if they're part of the operation as witnesses to what is being done. But do they often themselves become the official law enforcement authority themselves?
No, that is not done normally. It is the NCB officers. They have their own sepoys. They have their own inspectors and intelligence officers who have to escort the accused to the office or to the place where their statements have to be recorded. No private persons have the authority to hold or escort them to the place of detention.
Okay, so just to add to this, and thank you for sharing insights and shedding light on this entire process, where we need to then understand where the line should have been drawn and where the line seems to have been blurred and crossed. Let me also tell our viewers, Prabhakar Sale, Kiran Gosavi is actually one of those who you see on the visuals. Manish Bhanushali, the other one, the man who calls himself a BJP worker in the visuals. Aubrey Gomez, Adil Usmani, V. Vaigankar, Aparna Rane, Prakash Bahadur, Shoaib Faiz, Muzammil Ibrahim. These are the 9 people who've been named in the Panchnama as the witnesses to this entire process and the case itself while the Panchnama was being written. 2 of them have become part of this controversy because of the visuals that have emerged. Clyde Crasto, his party made the first allegation and has joined the dots to then say that this entire case is fake. Now, Clyde, what would you say?
So the point here is, I heard the ex-NCB, sir, talking about the whole detail right now. We mentioned a lot of things, Tanvi. If it was a 50-minute press conference where we disclosed a lot of things with pictures and everything was out in the open. The important question here is, there are 2 people here. Okay, 2 people. One is Gosavi and one is Bhanusali. These 2 ordinary citizens were doing something that normally, rightfully, by law, should be done by the NCB officials. You see now the images that you're showing, the videos. On your left, it shows that Gosavi is taking one of the accused inside, I think that's Aryan Khan, and Bhanusali is taking the other. Now, who gave them the right? Where in the NDPS law or the rule book of the NCB is it written that an informer or the witness is allowed to do something like this? Now, let me just give you a little more details. Please allow me to speak.
Yes.
Now, Bhanusali, we saw his Facebook profile. It says Vice President of the BJP. We don't know whether it's the National Vice President or State or Mumbai. We do not know. Okay. Today, he goes on to say that I'm just an ordinary worker of the BJP. Now, this ordinary worker of the BJP appears so extraordinary that he has got pictures with the Honorable Prime Minister of our country, the Honorable Home Minister of our country, the Minister for Heavy Industries, the Minister for Railways, ex-CM of Maharashtra. He's got pictures with the President of the BJP. Now, what kind of an ordinary BJP worker is this? He's got extraordinary access. Now, how many people can get access to the Honorable Prime Minister or the Home Minister? That's the question. Okay. Now, when he says, he goes on record to say that I give information to the NCP regarding all these issues. The NCB says that he is one of the witnesses. So there's difference in what they are saying. Now, also from all of us that we know, and there are some senior people, Bala sir is there and the NCB gentleman is there. How many times have you heard that the investigative agencies reveal the names of the informers or show who the informers are, who the witnesses are? They do not do that. That's a sort of thing that is understood in this circles, that you do not reveal the name of the witnesses. Here, there are witnesses right up in the public domain in the picture. Then you have this Bhanusali, who's actually holding, looks like the waist or the shoulder of one of the accused and taking him inside. Then there is Gosavi. Now, Gosavi's Facebook profile shows that he's a private investigator from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Then there are pictures of him holding a gun and the pictures of him with some, bouncers. And there are pictures of him with ministers from Gujarat. And then there's a picture of him taking a selfie with Aryan Khan and a picture of him with Bhanusali. See, when you put all these two things together, Tanvi, me, you, or even the common man seeing your show today is going to ask these questions that how can the NCB allow common citizens, ordinary citizens, to be a part of something like this? See, what is happening now, it's sub judice, the law will take its course, the judiciary will take its course,
right.
NCB will do what has to be done. And let me tell you one more thing. The NCB, over the last 35 years since its inception, has been doing a fantastic job, no doubt. But lately, with these kind of actions that they've been taking and these kind of things that they've been doing, questions have been raised in the minds of everybody, not just political parties.
No,
like
so
us.
it's okay to raise questions, and a lot of the things that were said by Mr. Nawab Malik today were these questions. But you are, pushing people in the direction of saying, oh, all of this is a fake case and a conspiracy to target Sharukh and the Maha government and Bollywood itself. Aren't you stretching it a bit too much there, Clyde?
No, see, Tanvi, well, fair enough. I take your point. For a moment, I take your point. But let me tell you something. The sequence of events over the last a year or so has been showing that, there's something to this. There is something to this. The High Court actually, when the Riya Chakravarti case came up, the High Court actually put everything aside of the NCB and it's being questioned right now. The CBI has not been able to say what has been happening in the last 1 year or so.
Can I come in?
It's the common man's mind that is now running, and that's the question that we have been raising also. Because what is going on?
Okay.
What is going on?
Mr. Rajiv Pandey wants to come in. Mr. Rajiv Pandey wants to come in and respond to Clyde's question about the questions that the common man is asking.
No, I'll tell you, there is a proverb at my place. Foolish friend is more dangerous than educated enemy. So what today NCP is doing and what Nawab Malik has done is it destroyed the case of the accused who is in the NCP.
Rajiv Pandey, when it comes to BJP and NCP, I don't know whether you refer to them as friend or enemy. So you may want to elaborate there.
Tanvi, what I'm saying, what Nawab Malik has done today, please don't disturb, you have not disturbed anybody. What Nawab Malik has done today, it is the case of interference in the judicial process, interference in the judicial system, interference in the justice system. Today all the accused were produced as per law within 24 hours before the magistrate, and that court has granted first 1 day custody, police custody, and then 3 days custody. If their lawyer, whatever they are not saying, that Nawab Malik has said today. So I am saying Nawab Malik has acted like a person without brief, just in excitement that I will get some votes if I talk about Sharukh Khan. So I am not talking, this case is not about the Sharukh Khan. This is case about some 8-9 people who all are arrested, and now they are being treated as per law. They are in police custody. Second point which I wish to state, Nawab Malik has a conflict of interest. Nawab Malik's son was charged for Gaja consuming and Gaja recovery has taken place. So this man called Nawab Malik has no right to talk about that because he has personal grudges against the NCB. Tanvi, I have a problem with you. I will abuse you only. NCB arrested his son-in-law, and I think few days back he was lodged on bail. He should be ashamed that his son-in-law was arrested by the same NCB under the same NDPS Act. Third point, Tanvi, that under NDPS Act, recovery, I am a lawyer. Under NDPS Act, if there is no recovery, no case can be made out, and there is a very, very senior person from NCB is on your show who has categorically stated that 2 independent witnesses required. What today NCP and in general and particularly Nawab Malik has done, he has made the case against Aryan Khan and company more problematic by trying to get some votes. Now I am coming to the point about the.
But you haven't answered the question.
Can I get 30 seconds?
No, Mr. Rajiv Pandey, okay. 1 minute, please. 1 minute, Mr. Rajiv Pandey.
No. You cannot.
I
tell
didn't
me what
understand
I
your
have to
last
speak.
point. What were you trying to say? The charge by the Mr. Malik is that the evidence, the so-called drug seizure, wasn't from the ship. It was photographed elsewhere because it came from elsewhere.
Yes. What I'm saying, Nawab Malik is either he is head of one SIT or he's a Supreme Court judge or High Court judge. Who is he? He's nobody. He should not talk about that because only his lawyer can talk about all these things in the courts of law.
Can I come here?
Tanvi, what I'm saying, Tanvi, allow me to complete. What I'm saying, NDPS Act, if there is no independent witness or Bhanusali and so, whoever is the person, I am not aware about that. It can be anybody. Anybody can be informer.
But
Clive Lights can start informer. They're becoming informer and earning money. Because
they can be informers. BJP workers by all means can become informers.
Yes.
BJP leaders,
Yes.
workers,
Yes.
spokesperson
That's the point.
by all means can become informers. You may be doing a great job by helping the authorities crack down on the drug menace. We will appreciate all of it. But who gave them the authority to hold the accused and drag them along? ये private citizens say और प्राइवेट सिटीजन से ये नार्कोटिक्स कंट्रोल ब्यूरो के ऑफिशियल्स कब बन गए, इसका जवाब कोई नहीं दे रहा. I have two more panelists to go to. I'm going to request everybody to just give me some time.
Quick rebuttal.
No, allow me to go to two other panelists who are with us right now. And as I do that, there's a very short sequence I want to play because this is the exact operative part that the NCB is not answering us on. They came out and said all allegations are baseless. We have followed procedure. The people who are in question are witnesses in this case. But to the specific question of why were they holding the hands of Arbaz Merchant and Aryan Khan and carrying them along as if they are the NCB officials on duty and in charge, no answers. Take a look. NCB actually didn't take any questions from the media. They just came and gave a statement.
It's a small question, sir. Sir, small question you should take, sir.
If anybody has any reservation, they are free to go to court, seek justice. We will reply to the court. No issues.
Sir, but we just want a clarity about it, sir. Under which law, sir? So if you could give us a clarity, sir. So how can a witness touch any accused, sir? Sir, under which NDPS, sir? Wankade, sir. Which law, sir? Wankade, sir.
So Yashovardhan Azad, good evening to you. How can a witness in a case be the person handling the accused in that very case?
Well, I've seen that clip which you have shown. See, first of all, they were taken definitely as independent witnesses, I agree. You know, there is no bar on a private citizen, legally, technically, in helping to effect any kind of arrest. Now, I would say that procedurally, yes, the NCB should have been more careful and they should have seen that their officials were the ones who were there, who were actually effecting the arrest and also bringing them. Right. But in this case, if there are private citizens, there is no bar. Obviously, the NCB officials were around. So technically and legally, this cannot be said that this arrest is null and void. My second point is that all these issues which are being raised, you see, as you have mentioned, the basic point cannot be missed out. So if Mr. Nawab Malik says that this is a fake, this is extremely disturbing. You know, NCB is a central organization. It has affected a seizure. You may belong to any party, but casting, you know, aspersions like this, at this rate, we are going to have a problem. You can't allow a political leader of this stature to make any remark what you can. The right place to do it would be the court. And mind you, there's a point which is rightly mentioned by the BJP representative that after the arrests were effected, the remand was given by the court. So I don't see, you know, making this issue. Mr. Crasto made a very good defense, you know, procedurally wrong, morally wrong, normally wrong, that's all right. But legally, you can't really question it. If a private man helps in an arrest of police, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
No, helping the... okay, so you're saying that it's nothing wrong even if a private man who is a witness in the case, a BJP leader, seems to be, you know, well connected. is actually holding the accused in this case and taking them along as if he's in charge? The NCB can allow that?
Morally wrong.
Yes.
Legally, there's no problem.
Ethically wrong, legally there is no problem.
But Tanvi, can you give me 15 seconds? Tanvi,
Yes.
whatever you are doing today also, you are trying, the way you are talking, that, who hold, all these things, Satish Manshinde will argue in the court. You are also
That's
trying
because,
to
Mr.
interfere
Rajiv
in
Pandey, you
the
always see me
justice.
from a biased
I am unable
prism.
to
I can't
understand.
help it. Everything that I say,
your
you
problem
interpret
is
it very
you are also
differently.
trying
What
to
do I
define
do
the
now? I have tried very hard to convince you. I am just a journalist who's doing their job. But you're free to interpret my comments the way you want
You
to.
are
Mr.
saying BJP
Balakrishnan,
leader.
good evening to you.
Suddenly Bhanusali has become BJP
Good
leader.
evening, good evening, Tanvi.
He's a BJP worker, is he or is he not? Are you denying
Leader
that?
and worker is different. There are 10 crore workers in the BJP. You are saying BJP leader.
Okay.
You are changing. This is very stylish.
No,
know.
I said
I know all
BJP
these things.
workers, BJP leaders, BJP spokesperson, all of them are free and welcome to tip off our law enforcement agencies on actual crime that is happening. That's much appreciated. But let me bring in Mr. Balakrishnan. Mr. Balakrishnan, there may be some flouting of norms, some unethical behavior on display here that the NCB will find difficult to explain. But is the NCP now using it for politics and really stretching it to say, oh, the entire case is false because BJP wants to target Sharukh Khan?
Tanvi, Nawab Malik has got a vested interest in completely demonizing the NCB. And it is not as if he has got the permission of his party high command. I want to ask Nawab Malik whether when he held a press conference in the NCB office to run down the NCB, whether he had taken the permission of Mr. Sharad Pawar, Supriya Sule, and Ajit Dada Pawar. Because Nawab Malik, he is a father-in-law. His son-in-law, Samir Khan, was arrested by the same NCB whom he is accusing today. And as long as 8 months, he did not get bail. He was rotting in the jail. So Nawab Malik ideally should have been asked to resign because his son-in-law has been caught in a drug case, and Nawab Malik is in a position to influence witnesses, intimidate them and all that. Instead of that, here is this Johnny coming today and accusing the NCB of planting the case or being a bogus case and all that. And a few days back, in fact, 24 hours within the arrest of Aryan Khan, Sachin Sawant and other spokesperson of the Congress party, they also came into the front and then started running down the NCB. Now, please try to keep one thing in mind that Priyanka Vadra and Sharukh Khan are on very, very close personal terms. Whenever Priyanka comes to Mumbai, she goes and stays in Mannat in Bandra. Okay, so this is connection. So immediately you find the Congress coming down to the defense of Aryan Khan. You find the NCB spokesperson and cabinet minister whose son-in-law was arrested, was jailed for 8 months, coming and running down the NCB. No, whatever the earlier speakers had mentioned about some Gosavi, some merchant, I don't know, some name, Bhanushali and all that, these are all extremely minor lapses. It doesn't in any way deflect the fact that the NCB has done a major seizure. Their officers have gone posting as passengers. They have gone into the cruise ship and found these people with their pants down.
Okay.
Now, if some informers, if they might be BJP people, they could be NCB people tomorrow, they could be XYZ tomorrow. That doesn't have any validity in law. It is true that the NCB should have been more careful and ensure that these witnesses were not allowed to come in the frame of the cameras. But it's a very, very minor lapse. But this should not.
I don't see it as a minor lapse, Mr. Balakrishnan. I don't see it as a minor lapse. I see it as an extremely dangerous practice when boundaries between witnesses in a case and accused begin to get blurred like this. I see it as a very, very dangerous trend. And I'm going to add to more lapses that have happened in this case in just a bit. But Clyde Crasto must respond. Two panelists have raised this issue here, the conflict of interest. There is a vested interest that Mr. Nawab Malik has. Why should we believe him?
Tanvi, but I heard both Bala, two people I hold in the highest esteem and regard because they really know what they feel that they are very good at. Now the thing is, Yasho sir kept saying that it's morally not right, but legally it's okay. I mean, to add to everybody's knowledge, Yashok sir, I think you should tell everybody where is it legally written that two ordinary citizens can actually drag somebody or pull somebody or hold somebody and take them into the NCB office when they are not part of the system. Okay, one of them is connected to a political party, the other is a fraudster who's accused for duping people. That's my point. Now, the Bala sir raised another point. Bala sir said that he spoke about Mr. Nawab Malik. Now, Mr. Nawab Malik, from day one, the issue when it came about his son-in-law, he very categorically, when he was asked, he said, I'm not going to speak on this because I believe in the law. Let the law take its course. Nobody is above the law, whether it's my son-in-law or a journalist or a politician, anybody. Nobody is above the law, and that's what he said, and he kept quiet, and the law took its course. He was arrested. There was the court hearing his case, and the court themselves gave him the bail. So the thing that is happening here, see, the fact of the matter.
But it would be mighty convenient to hit out at the credibility of the same agency, Clyde.
I'm taking that. Tanvi, I'm taking that. I take it head on. I don't hide from things. I'm coming to that point. It's obvious. It's obvious on anybody's part to say that just because his son-in-law was arrested that he's going to take this whole action that he's taking. But the fact of the matter, you have to also remember that he's a chief spokesperson of a political party, the NCP, and it is his job to speak out. So what he has said regarding his son-in-law, the law will take its course, and he's always maintained that. And here, as a spokesperson. Now, Rajiv, we always have good debates. I don't talk when you talk, so you also never talk when I talk. So let me finish. Okay. No. Point here is, as a spokesperson, he has done his job today, and all the questions that were raised. See, what he's trying to say here is, when things like a BJP spokesperson, a functionary, as he mentioned on the Facebook page, takes part in an action like this. Gosavi, who's a fraudster and who's supposed to be a private detective, takes part in all these things. And when over the last 1 year, when cases from the NCB that have not found its actual final destination, questions will be raised, questions will come up. So what is wrong when a chief spokesperson of a political party raises a question like this? A BJP functionary, BJP worker and his friends can be part of an investigation, part of a raid, part of holding somebody's hand and dragging him to the NCB office. That's all right.
Okay.
But a chief spokesperson of a political party, when he raises questions that come to light in the public domain, that's wrong.
That's how you're repeating.
Two wrongs cannot be right or two rights cannot be wrong. Is that how it works?
No, so you can ask questions of the NCB on their procedure, but how do you connect the dots to the BJP?
No, the dots connected to the BJP, because obviously here is the Facebook profile of a person who says he's the vice president, then he claims I'm a worker, then he has pictures with the Honorable Prime Minister. One minute, I'll just finish. He has pictures with the Prime Minister, he has pictures with the President of BJP, JP Nadda, he has pictures with the Railway Minister, he has pictures with the Heavy Industries Minister, Home Minister. So the questions will always be raised. Whether you and I fight, you go to every household that is listening to you, they are all going to ask questions.
Okay, let Rajiv Pandey answer this, and I want to go across to Mr. B.V. Kumar on some other aspects of the investigation itself. Yes.
Tanvi ji, Fidel Castro Sahab is a very good friend, and he has raised two very important questions.
No, Fidel Castro was in Cuba. Clyde, this is Clyde Castro.
Clyde, I'm sorry. What he said, Tanvi ji, that Nawab Malik, in the case of his son-in-law, he's saying, law will take its own course. But in the case of Aryan Khan, law will not take its own course.
We want law to take its course.
And interfere in the administration of justice. My first reply. Second point, sir, if there is a cognizable offense is taking place, like Kasab came and were killing the people, if Rajiv Pandey is around, then I will support the police. Any cognizable offense, then you can also try to support the police and agencies. Whatever is the case in this act, if I am there and if police tell me or NCB tells me, you please help me to catch this person. If there are less number of people, any individual can stop a person from committing the cognizable offense. And in this case, whatever was happening there, which was a cognizable offense, there are so many senior people are on the panel.
Right.
And I am saying, legally, this is not a bar.
Okay.
Legally, this is not a bar. And I am telling you one thing. I am saying let law takes its own course. The way it has taken course after 8 months, he has gone bail. Now charge sheet will be filed against the son-in-law of Nawab Malik. And I am requesting, I'm advising your party, a person whose son-in-law is charged by NCB has no moral right to
talks about
Okay,
kind of
fair
cases.
enough,
What
fair
is the
enough.
conflict of
Point
interest?
about own vested interest, well made. Now, allow me just for a few minutes now, since we have experts on this panel, to speak about the manner in which this case has been handled. And there is one aspect of it, Mr. B.V. Kumar, since you are here with us, that has been, that has intrigued me quite a bit. On day one, after the tip-off, the NCB team lands at the ship, carries out the search, finds 8 people that they say had drugs on them and takes them along. They are initially detained. A day later, they are officially arrested and presented before the court. That ship nicely sails off with the rest of the people on board who continue their party. And for 2 days, that ship sails all around, goes to Goa, maybe comes back, we don't know. 2 days later, when it docks again in Mumbai, is when the NCB goes back on the same ship, carries out a follow-up search, finds more passengers with drugs on them, and picks up the organizers and arrests all 6 of them. Now, NCB says we told them not to sell, but they any which ways went, and then they were not reachable. How would you view this? I mean, the fact that the ship with 1,792 other people managed to go on and carry on for 2 full days, came back. For some reason, those passengers did not dump their drugs, still had it on them, and got caught again.
Yeah. Can I come in?
Yes, Mr. Kumar.
See, the normal course, when they had specific information that these 8 persons were having drugs, were abusing drugs or partying it there, after they boarding the ship in the guise of passengers, then they apprehended these people. Having apprehended, in the normal course, any investigating agency will not leave the ship. They would immediately search the cabins of all these 8 passengers. And if any event manager or their representatives are there, he will also be apprehended and his cabin also will be searched. And the experience of Mr. Wankhede being a former customs officer, he could have taken the assistance of the rummaging division of the custom house who are experts in rummaging a ship. So probably to that extent, there was probably the investigation could have been taken. The other important thing is, having not done that, the ship goes back, finishes its cruise, and then comes back. And then further search is done. And they say 25 people have been apprehended, and they were also charged for drug abuse. And follow-up action has been taken to apprehend the peddlers in Bombay and also the event managers in Delhi, and also very important key accused, Mr. Sheikh. No, these are all things, but sometimes in the course of investigation, some faults may occur. But as Mr. Azad pointed out, I fully agree with him, because under the NDPS Act, it's a cognizable, non-bailable offense. It also overrides the provisions of the CRPC Act for claiming bail and other things. Being a cognizable offense, if there is a resistance from the accused, then certainly they can take the assistance of the persons around, namely the civilians who are present, and to apprehend or prevent escape of the accused. To that extent, I fully agree with Mr. Azad. He is absolutely correct. But here, I don't think there was any resistance from any of the youngsters who were apprehended. They were looking like ordinary boys of that particular age and other things, and they were meekly following. Having done that, I personally feel probably, as Mr. Azad pointed out, it's probably morally not correct to utilize the services of these 2 private persons to forcibly take them inside the NDPS office. That's what I personally feel. There are enough officers from the Narcotics Control Bureau based in Bombay,
Yes.
and they are good enough to apprehend. They're trained very well to physically handle also, and they are fully armed. So there should not be any difficulty for them to escort these youngsters. So probably utilizing to that extent is not procedural and morally not correct.
Yes,
that's what I would say.
and the fact that, I mean, it's a grave violence, it's a grave violation which has happened if the ship has sailed away despite NCB telling them to not, and then not been traceable for 2 days, Mr. Kumar.
No, that's not correct. They have every power to tell the customs officers to issue an alert and give directions to stop the ship. In fact, I have done that in the past. We have taken the help of the Navy. We have apprehended the ships when they were carrying Indian idols to South Africa. We have done that. Right. It's not difficult to apprehend a passenger ship. This is not a foreign ship. It's an Indian ship on a coastal run. And it's very easy to tell the Navy or the Coast Guard, they'll immediately apprehend the ship and bring it back. Or if they had given directions to the captain, he has no business to carry forward the voyage. I think that was not correct on the part of the NCB to allow the ship to go. No captain can defy the authorities. That's not correct. We have all the powers to apprehend the vessel. And we always take the assistance of the Coast Guard and the Navy to apprehend the ships or even the planes when they're about to leave an airport. If we suspect there's a contraband or a person who is required under the law for being arrested. We have done that in the past and it's being done even today.
Good luck for the NCB that, 2 days later also when the ship returned, the others who had drugs on them had not managed to get rid of those drugs and they were actually caught red-handed as well. I'm completely out of time, but yes, final comments to Clyde before I wrap this up. Clyde, we're going to try and fix that line with you. I'm not able to understand you at all. Mr. Yashwardhan Azad, you wanted to make a point as well?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Kumar is ultimately the last word because he was one of the most successful DG NCB. And there are only 2 points here, I think, of the debate which are relevant. First is whether those witnesses were truly independent because they belong to BJP. I don't think so. And number 2, the second point is whether in effecting the arrest, can the citizen be used for help? In this case, they were also witnesses, so they were supposed to be neutral. These are the 2 points, but I think the court will have to look into it. I still feel that legally there is no bar to it, and therefore procedurally wrong, morally wrong, everything, but technically, legally correct.
Okay, Clyde, yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I just want to stress on what Mr. Kumar said. The point here is we are talking about these 2 people, Gosavi and Bhanusali. Now, what Mr. Kumar said was that, these people surrendered. So the fact is, if there was a scuffle like the BJP spokesman said, you jump in to help people, that's fair enough. If he was helping, I would have joined him to help also. But the point here is these 2 people had surrendered. So the NCB could have just handled this whole thing. Why were these 2 ordinary citizens pulling the accused into the NCB office? That's the question, because that leads to a lot of questions being raised that the BJP functionary, BJP worker, people connected to the BJP, are they now, having a say in the NCB? That's the question that comes to light.
Well, as long as the NCB still manages to build a proper, genuine case with a fair investigation with real evidence, I don't think questions can be raised of it, but it is for the courts to decide basis the evidence that the NCB has now got, basis the various testimonies, what the witnesses have said, and the defense that is being put up. We're going to track that. A big thank you to all of the panelists for joining me on this conversation. Before we wrap this up, let me play out an excerpt of that conversation we had with the BJP man, the man who's at the heart of the controversy today. Manish Bhanushali of the BJP, claims to be a BJP worker, has been pictured. He's very gladly shared all of those pictures that he has with the tallest of the leaders and ministers of the BJP. A witness in this case, visible to you on screen right now, dragging one of the key accused into the building after the raid was conducted. This is Manish Bhanushali, and this is what he told us about his role in the case. Listen.
हमारे साथ मनीष भालूशाली हैं। मनीष भालूशाली वो शख्स हैं जिन पे ये आरोप लग रहा है कि एनसीबी ने जो क्रूज के ऊपर रेड की है, उस रेड में मनीष भालूशाली अधिकारियों के साथ थे और अधिकारी बन के वहां पे पहुंचे थे। मनीष, आप पे जो आरोप लग रहे हैं काफी गंभीर आरोप हैं कि आप वहां पे अधिकारी बन के पहुंचे थे और आपने अधिकारियों की मदद की थी, और जिसमें एनसीबी ने काफी लोगों को पकड़ा है, उसमें आप अधिकारी के रूप में वहां पहुंचे हुए थे।
मुझे कोई अधिकारी बना के नहीं लेके गया। मेरे पास जो इन्फॉर्मेशन थी वो इन्फॉर्मेशन मुझे साझा करने के लिए लेके गया कि मुझे नई नई और इन्फॉर्मेशन आ रही थी, और वहाँ पोर्ट में कोई भी यात्री जा सकता है, जिसको जाना है कोई भी अपना पास बना के जा सकता है वहाँ पे।
आपने पहले बुकिंग कराई थी स्पॉट पे?
मुझे इतना बताया गया कि कुछ समय बहुत कम था, कुछ 11 साढ़े 11 बजे ये रेडी हुई टीम इनकी। उस दिन 2 अक्टूबर थी, 1 तारीख को मेरे पास जानकारी मिली और ये होनार अफसर ने इमीडिएटली टीम को, छुट्टी का दिन था 2 अक्टूबर, अपनी टीम को इमीडिएटली बुलाया। ये पूरा अरेंजमेंट करने में उनको 1-2 घंटा बच गया। 12 बजे शिफ्ट निकलने वाली थी और मेरे पास नई जानकारी और कंटिन्यू आ रही थी। 2-2 3-3
जानकारी की बात कर रहे हैं? किस जानकारी की बात कर रहे हैं और कौन सी जानकारी आपने शेयर की थी किसी के साथ?
और किसी के साथ शेयर नहीं की मैंने।
किसके साथ शेयर की थी? कौन सी जानकारी आ रही थी आपके पास?
ये कि ड्रग्स पार्टी होने वाली है यहाँ पे, क्रूज को। वो भी मेरे किसी मित्र मुझे भेज रहे थे, वो जानकारी डायरेक्टली मेरे पास नहीं थी। कोई एक मेरे मित्र हैं जो बाहर गाँव के, मैं नाम नहीं लेना चाहता हूँ क्योंकि अभी वो भी मुसीबत में फंस सकते हैं। उन्होंने मुझे पूरी जानकारी दी कि ऐसा ऐसा यहाँ ड्रग्स पार्टी होने वाला है। हमारे यहाँ से कुछ बंदे निकले हैं मुंबई के लिए, साथ में कोई ड्रग्स लेके गया है, कोई मुंबई से लेने वाला है। ये सारे लोग वहाँ ये पार्टी में शामिल होने वाले हैं। ये जानकारी जो मुझे मिली मैं वो एनसीबी अफसरों के साथ साझा की और मुझे जानकारी वो कंटिन्यू नई जानकारी आ रही थी कि इसमें और 2 नाम ऐड हो रहे हैं। वो मेरे जो मित्र हैं वो मुझे जानकारी दे रहे थे, मैं एनसीबी के अधिकारी को दे रहा था।
तो अब जो एनसीबी अधिकारियों ने जो रेड करी थी उसका टिप ऑफ आपने दिया था, आप ऐसा कह रहे हैं?
मैं जब इनके पास गया तो समीर वानखेड़ी जी ने मुझे बोला कि भानुशाली जी ये बात आपकी जो इन्फॉर्मेशन आपके पास आई है उससे अलावा भी हमको 4 जगह से और इन्फॉर्मेशन आई है ये चीज़ की कि यहाँ ऐसी कुछ पार्टी होने वाली है। आपके पास कुछ नई इन्फॉर्मेशन भी आ रही है तो आप साथ में रहिए तो हमें आसानी रहेगी।
फोटो सामने निकल कर आ रही है, उसमें दिख रहा है कि आप जो हैं वो बीजेपी के जो आला नेता हैं, चाहे देश के प्रधानमंत्री हों, गृह मंत्री, उनके साथ हैं। तो आप क्या बीजेपी से संबंध रखते हैं?
मैं बीजेपी का जैसे 6.5 करोड़ कार्यकर्ता हूँ, उसमें से मैं कार्यकर्ता हूँ।
पद है आपके पास पार्टी में?
अभी पार्टी का मेरे पास कोई पद नहीं है।
अच्छा, जो
I'm not a party post holder, but I am a BJP worker, says Mr. Bhanushali, a key man now in this case. We don't care about the politics of it. We don't really care about what NCP has to say versus what the BJP has to say. And they can continue with their fighting, which I'm sure this will become into another point of confrontation between the Maha Aghadi and the BJP. But we do care about the actual case. We do care about the crackdown on the drugs menace. We do care about how vastly it's spreading and how easily it is now available, and the large quantities of drugs that are now being found, busted, and the cases that are being built. We do care about our authorities, our investigative agencies following the rules, playing it fair, following the law, following the rules, following the protocol, not blurring the lines, not really messing things up that it becomes difficult for them to prove their own case. We do believe in ensuring accountability of these investigative agencies. How did they allow the ship to really cruise away after the first round of investigation, that they had to go back 2 days after when the ship docked again? People on that ship continued partying with allegedly drugs on them, and they got away with it. Somebody needs to be held accountable for that. Somebody needs to tell us why. Did NCB not have enough officials that they needed to take the help of a BJP man and a private detective to carry the accused, to take the custody of the accused from one point to the other, to drag them inside the office? Why was it necessary to allow access to these witnesses to the point where they're sitting and clicking pictures and selfies with the key accused, harassing them just because they are star kids? These kind of unethical practices are not okay. It may seem small to you, but this is how it starts and leads to larger issues within the law enforcement agencies, which is why it is a problem. Thank you for joining us.